We are now live again. Thank you, everyone. Sorry about the problem. We're having some definitely technical difficulties this week. All right. So thanks again, Rasta, Jeff, for joining us.
Oh, thanks again for having me, bro.
Second time.
I feel like I brought the tech issues. Everything was fine until I got here.
Yeah, why don't you tell them what happened to you last night?
I've
Now his audio's gone.
Now his audio cut out.
We lost your mic, man.
Your mic isn't working. This week. Your mic isn't working. We're having so many technical problems.
Can you hear me? No?
Can you hear us?
No, he cannot.
We can't hear you. No, put your hands on your ears. Maybe that'll work. Hello? Marty? Ugh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So our stuff is working and his cut out.
You guys are back now. I don't know what happened.
There we go.
Oh,
okay.
Look on. You're back now.
Apparently it's
all right.
Spreading like herpes now.
That's yeah, there is some weird ebb going on now. The Matrix is mad at us, bro. So yeah, that last night I was recording my podcast and shit like this started happening. As I was done, it took me like 3 hours to record that show. And I was gonna listen back, and as I was listening back, parts of it started disappearing. And I don't know where those words went, but there are chunks in my podcast that are just blank. So I'm talking in that episode and then parts just cut out. There was no time to fix it. So I just put out that episode. And if they really want to hear what I said, I'll try to go back and listen and piece that together for you, because I've got a lot of notes. But that was the start of all the troubles, I think, was my podcast last night.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet.
We're just going to play musical mics. Sometimes we'll have audio, sometimes we won't. You know?
Yeah.
I've been having all kinds of microphone issues today, so I apologize to everybody. I'm still having an echo, which is why I'm trying to adjust my tone in a weird way.
I don't hear your echo, so I don't know if it's coming through for the audience. It might just be yourself.
No, it's just on my end, but
okay.
I, for the love of God, can't figure it out, but I got everything working enough to stream again, so that's all that matters.
Kind of funny.
Yep. So why don't you tell us again about your breeding stuff, since they got cut off last time?
Okay, I think we were talking about male selection was the last thing I remember. Yep. And I was saying that when I select a male, it kind of depends on what my goal is. Am I trying to make shorter, squattier plants? Am I trying to make taller plants? Do I want faster finishing? Do I want longer flowering? The male decides a lot of that. At least 50% of what you're going to get is decided by the male plant. So if I'm going like King Solomon, I wanted to create high THC, sativa style, big bud, chunky plants. So I use King Solomon, and he's tall and slender and has long branches. He creates tall, slender plants with huge, huge buds. My next project, I'm searching for a male that will be short and squatty, something that the bottom branches kind of come up even with that top. I just want a little bit of an extra top node or extra top bud, not an excessive giant top. I like them, they're kind of even. That's what I'm looking for in this next shape. I said this before, it's kind of gross, but when I'm looking for a male, the aroma that I look for when I rub the stem, I kind of want it to smell a little bit like vomit, like a little bit of hot puke in the smell of my male. That turns a lot of people off, but I think that passes on a lot of good traits. It brings out that chemy, stinky, skunky, and I say burnt tires, tennis balls kind of a smell, which I really appreciate. So I look for the shape, I look for the aroma, and then if it makes trichomes, that's always a bonus. If that male plant makes resin, then you know it's going to pass on resin to the females. Also, I don't take the males that flower right away. If I've got 5 males, the first 2 that show me they're male, they probably get tossed to the wayside and don't get bred with, because they're going to be too dominant in the cross. The cross is going to show too much of their genetics in the offspring. So I don't go for the first one. If I had 5, I'd probably go for the 3rd or 4th male to show flower if I'm breeding.
Oh, that's really interesting. So what about pollen preservation?
That's a good question. I think that's where we were. I don't preserve pollen a lot, so I don't have a lot of expertise in this. But from what I have done, and it has worked, I had a plant that was pollen. It was dropping pollen. I just got a glass jar and a drumstick and tapped the drumstick onto the plant and knocked some pollen into the jar. Then I poured that pollen out onto a screen. Get all of those male flowers out of there. If you've got little male flowers, pull them out because they hold moisture, and that moisture will destroy pollen. Pollen has to be completely dry to be stored. So pull all that moisture out. Get some tweezers and get those male flowers out if you need to. Then put that in a container and put silicate packets in there. So those silicate packets will suck up all of your moisture. And then store that. I put it in a brown paper bag and I just stick it in the back of the refrigerator. I don't put it in the freezer. I just stick it in the back of the fridge, and that tends to work for me. I've only done that once or twice and it has worked. I was given pollen by another friend and I used it, and it worked with that method as well. I don't know about storing it for more than 2, 3. I've heard 6 months, but I really have never gone past a couple of months myself. Not sure if we lost him or if he's pausing.
No, I'm here.
Yeah,
Okay. Just having issues. So why don't you tell us about some of the different, more unique strains that you've managed to breed or work with as far as traits?
Okay. Right now, what's really popular is my strain called Arise. Arise is a golden goat female crossed to a daybreaker male. Those strains were really far apart. Golden goat has a tropical, candy, fruity sort of a smell. It kind of smells like the chewing gum with the zebras on it. I can't think of the juicy fruit or something like that. It smells like some bubble gum, some chewing gum with a tropical kind of a fruit, pineapple, oranges, citrus kind of thing going on. And then the daybreaker was straight up feet and gas and fuel. So I crossed those and it made a rise, and it brought out, since they were so far apart, it brought out really unique traits. It's got a sweet, cushy, skunky, funky sort of a thing happening. The part that makes it really unique is it holds, to the best of my knowledge, currently it holds the test for highest THCA content from any lab test. And that was tested at Steep Hill Labs in Albuquerque. It tested at 34.85% THCA. That sample was grown by our friends at Organitica in Albuquerque at their dispensary grow. So that's a rise. She grows, she gets kind of tall. She makes huge, tasty buds, but she gets super high potency. So that's why she's unique. My second favorite would probably be my Lemon Jeffrey. Lemon Jeffrey is another golden goat cross. Lemon Jeffrey is a reversed golden goat. So I took a girl golden goat and turned it into a boy. And then I took that pollen and put that on a lemon skunk female. And that makes Lemon Jeffrey. It tastes like, if you open up a box of lemon heads and you just smell it, you don't eat them because they're a little strong. But if you just smell it, that real powerful lemon smell, but it's kind of soft, kind of like a country time lemonade sort of a smell. It's real powerful and a lemon candy kind of a smell. I really like that one because of the lemon candy flavor. It's real sativa dominant. I've got a traumatic brain injury. So I found that the limonene and the terpenoline work best for my condition. So I breed a lot of the lemony, sativa, high THC sort of stuff for myself. So the Lemon Jeffrey and the Arise are probably my two favorites that I'm most proud of.
You work a lot with different golden goat crosses. You want to talk a little bit about that strain? It's pretty popular in Colorado. It's one of my favorites from back there, but you don't see it a lot elsewhere.
Yeah, golden goat is real popular here. I did not breed golden goat. A lot of people give me credit for breeding it. I did not breed that. That was bred by a guy who calls himself Mr. Dank, and that happened in Topeka, Kansas. That golden goat was brought to the Colorado, the medical marijuana scene when the big commercial grows got big, because it's a beautiful commercial plant. It produces well. It's very resistant to problems. You can feed the shit out of it. It harvests heavy. It's got nice bag appeal. It smells amazing. So it was brought to Topeka, or from Topeka to Denver, and it started popping up in all of the dispensaries in Denver. We saw it everywhere. And you notice when you go to different dispensaries, a lot of them will say they have, I'll just say Death Star is the strain. And you'll look at Death Star at dispensary A and Death Star at dispensary B, and they're obviously not grown the same. You could tell that this guy didn't know what he was doing and this guy really knew what he was doing. The golden goat, every dispensary I went to, it looked quality because it was just so easy to grow. You can't screw up a golden goat plant. It just wants to be potent. It wants to be vigorous. So I kind of fell in love with it because of the flavor, the potency, and I really like the high from it. I really enjoy the high. It produces really heavily. One of my heaviest harvests before I got into running a lot of my own stuff, one of my heavy harvests was a golden goat plant. I pulled almost 4 pounds from one light. It was 3.6 or something like that. I don't remember exactly now. I've got it written down, but I pulled a lot of weight from one light of golden goat plants. I love the way she grows. And then I started breeding to her, and I noticed that everything you breed to the golden goat comes out with that sweet, I can't even describe it. It's a smooth, sweet sort of a thing. It's almost got a tropical dryer sheet. If you smell like a Bounce or a Downy dryer sheet, and then add some tropical fruit, maybe some pineapples and oranges onto that, I just love that flavor. Everything I breed to the goat gets a hint of that. Also, a lot of plants just put out their node structure will just put out like a plus sign. You get a north, south, east, and west. The golden goat will give you 6 nodes. It'll have that 1 extra in there, which means more production. If you've got 2 more nodes for every spiral, that's 2 more branches that you can grow more weight on. So I really like that she does that. You can beat the shit out of golden goat and she won't get mad at you. You could crack her, you could pop her, you can twist her, you can top her, or lollipop her. You can forget to water her. Golden goat is just awesome to grow. So that's how I fell in love with the golden goat plant. And I got to give a shout out to my friend Josh. I call him Pineapple Express. He brought me the golden goat plant because he knew I would love it. So I owe a big shout out to my friend Josh.
Cool. Have you ever worked with Island Sweet Skunk or any of those?
You know, I did grow the Island Sweet Skunk a long time ago, and it was not my favorite. It got too tall. It was too skinny. It just didn't do. It wasn't for me. It was too tropically and not lemony enough.
Yeah. So, what is there any other kind of projects you're working on aside from the stuff you're talking about? Is there any other kind of directions you've thought about going or have worked on maybe in the past?
You know, I'm going to do the, I'm looking for a new male. I've talked about that. I'm doing a lot of real sativa dominant stuff. I'm going to do some indica dominant things because a lot of people want a faster flowering thing, but then I'm going to work on more fem stuff. A lot of states are going legal and a lot of people are asking me for more feminized seeds. So I'm going to go start working on a lot more feminized stuff, and I'm going to kind of aim in. I'm going to dial in. I'm going to get away from breeding for myself is what I think I'm trying to say. I'm breeding for my head injury and for what I like. And then I just hope that works for the market. I'm going to kind of breed for more specific conditions. I'm starting to see what works for seizure conditions, for bipolar disorder, for appetite, for whatever you're working for. I'm going to try to breed more specifically for that. And I'm going to do that in fem seeds to get that available for the new states that are coming on.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Oh, the podcast. The podcast is fun. I've been having so much fun doing the podcast. I never thought that my little show would get me this far. Several years ago, I had a friend, Wade, who was doing a podcast, and I listened and I was like, man, you've got a great show, but the production needs help. And he kind of looked at me and I was like, I know, that's my department. Let's do it. So I started producing the show for Wade, and we did close to 100 episodes together. At one point, Colorado legalized recreational cannabis, and I was the first one to buy recreational cannabis in my area. So we did a podcast all about that. We got a huge response talking about cannabis on our non-weed. The show we did had nothing to do with cannabis. We're talking about social issues in our neighborhood and things like that. My little weed section kind of took off, and we started doing that more frequently. Wade decided to give up podcasting. He wanted to move on. I thought, hey, this is my time to do a cannabis show. So I just did my own spinoff, and it was all about cannabis. And also, I was hanging out at a table at a party, and I was just trying to smoke dabs and hang out. And everybody had grow questions. They all knew that I knew how to grow. So like, hey man, this question. Hey man, this question. And I was like, you know what I should do? I should just record this. And when everybody asks me, I should just hit play and have them listen to it. And then it all clicked in my head. I said, dude, you should just record this. And when people ask you, you should just hit play and make them listen. I was like, well, that's a really good idea. And so I came home and started writing out grow lessons. And that's kind of how the podcast came about. And we've been, I've been in the top 500 or the top 600 in Stitcher a few times. I've been consistently in the top 1,000 in Stitcher. I just started posting to YouTube, and I am really expanding on YouTube. So the podcast, I never expected it to get this far. It was just something I felt I had to do because I was tired of seeing there's so much terrible advice on the internet. You can go to the forums and you can learn all about how to kill your plants. You can learn all about how to fail in a grow. You can learn how to destroy your entire garden. Or you might get lucky.
Lots of money on nutrients.
Yes, how to waste a lot of money on gear you do not need.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that frustrated me, and I thought I could fix this. I could just go and talk into a mic, because I like to talk, obviously. You could tell by just me running my face here, and I know what I'm talking about. So I was like, I could save people money. I could fix all these lies and rumors, and I just felt like it was what I was meant to do. That something was telling me, do this for the world. So that's why it happens.
Oh, it's really awesome. Yeah, we started the show for the similar reasons. We got Marty and I got sick and tired of hearing that aquaponics won't grow weed.
Right.
Well, and answering the same questions over and over again, like he was talking about, you know, like almost everybody, and we've talked about this before too. Like we feel like we sort of done like, you know, we only have about 8 shows that we just run that we run continuously, and then they start over again. You know, it's really like, you know, we went through, if you watch the beginning of our podcast, you know, like we went through all the questions that we always get about nitrogen, and then all the questions we always get about phosphorus, and then all, you know, like, and just sort of like went through all that stuff because like both of us were spending so long like just typing out answers on you know, forums and Facebook groups and stuff. You know, it was so much easier to just be like, oh, here's the link, watch this. You know, and it just saves you so much time. Actually, it like, you know, I feel like very few people like are like, hey, I want to start a podcast, just because, you know, like it's almost like, well, it becomes a time saver at some point, you know, like a way to like go back to living the rest of your life and not just like answering the same 8 questions over and over and over again. And so it became, that's sort of how it started out. And then it became, you know, like, you know, being able to talk to all the different guests and hear all, like, even the stuff you just talked about breeding. Like now it's more like, you know, it's like just a place that we have to come learn things, you know, like all of the guests always have information. We've had such a variety, and we've talked about this before, everybody from you know, packaging. We had these college kids on with a startup that we just skewered because we didn't know it was terrible before we invited them on, and then it was like they started giving out all this bad information, and we're like, no. And so it really turned into kind of a cool episode, even though it was like extremely awkward, you know. So there's just been a variety of different things, but we had like Jeff Lowenfels and Tom Alexander and Swami from Swami Seeds, and like, you know, there's just so many guests that we've had to be able to talk to. And you know, Ed Rosenthal was on, even though we had a crazy time with that too. Remember the podcast crashed in that episode? That's like the other time it crashed completely, and we couldn't even get him back on the air. And you know, but it was still even though the podcast crashed, I was talking to him the entire time on our Google Hangouts while Steve was trying to get it to work. So for me, it was awesome because the whole time the podcast
got a little one-on-one there.
Yeah, where he's just asking me questions about my grow and, you know, all this different stuff and giving me advice. It was like a, you know, one-on-one consultation, and while everybody else was trying to make the podcast work. So
it's pretty awesome.
And, it's
Marty.
It's been fun,
Marty, you know more than Ed. And just by the way, I'm the idiot all you guys' podcasts are looking for. And even I know that Marty knows more than Ed.
It was still fun.
Yes. Oh yeah, Ed's awesome, but you're a better grower.
Well, thank you. I
The
appreciate
thing that night too was there was an echo loop going everywhere that night. That was it.
Yeah, his mic was
lasted for a while, but the echo loop you couldn't understand what anybody was saying.
Yeah, we went through like 3 mics on there.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
He
And then Marty went away. You went away, Marty. So to you, it might have crashed, you know. But we endured it a little bit while after you left.
Well, what happened was you guys switched, like just like tonight, you guys switched links, and Ed couldn't figure out how to switch. So I just stayed in the same one that we started in, and we chatted. We just like talked probably for like an hour and a half after you guys left. And he couldn't figure out the link, but he was, after a while, I think he just gave up. And we just talked for, you know, like, you know, probably a good solid hour. It was nice.
You missed Ed's wife. Ed's wife is wonderful. She's just a sweet little thing. And Steve had his VR set up in Ed Rosenthal's house. And she's doing exploring through the Great Pyramids and whatever with this mask on her face. But she's just the sweetest little thing. She really is.
Yep.
I love watching people play with those things.
Right. We brought that up to the Dude Grows Cup up in Oregon, and we're getting people high and letting them play different VR games, and then had our like little booth there, and it was so much fun.
That sounds like a ton of fun.
The teenagers, you guys, that was with Spectrum King was on that show that night. When you had the kids with the full spectrum blurple light, you know.
So Jeff, we'll wait till you're done.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, why don't you tell us a little about some of the different guests that you've had on? I understand you're up to episode 300 something, I think it is.
I think I just did 335. You know, I'm not quite the interviewer that you are. I don't do a lot of guests. Most of my guests are my trusted friends. Like I said earlier, I've got my buddy White Mike that comes. He's probably one of my best friends. We've been hanging out for several years talking about cannabis. So Mike comes on. I have Jesse come on. He's the guy with the real low voice. He's an outdoor expert. My friend Sean has been on. All of my guests are honestly my friends. My biggest guest with the most notoriety would probably be Miss Charlo Green. I got the honor of having Charlo on the show. I got to sit in the same room, a chair away from her. She was holding my microphone. So that's probably my most notable guest was Charlo Green. But I'm not a super good interviewer. I've been listening to more podcasts where they interview people because I'm friends with guys like Subcool and all those cats. So I could interview them. I just would have to ask, and I'm sure they would do it. So I'm just trying to brush up my interview skills, and then I'll do that. I just get nervous when I could hang out with Subcool all day. We could take dabs. We could smoke. The minute I turn on a microphone, I start saying stupid shit. I'm not sure why.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve's really good with the interview stuff. I've been watching him for, golly, over a year, and he just has a way of drawing people out.
Right.
And it's just, and I'm the noob on the thing. I'm not a grower, and I find it fascinating because I don't even know to ask the questions that Steve does, and it's just so much fun for me as the outsider to, be in the mix of things and watch that going on.
So what are some of the different, some of your favorite episodes from your podcast? Some of the different topics you cover a lot.
Just recently, I did a short series. It was all about, I started with determining ripeness. So, when the plants are ready to harvest, then the next episode was harvesting. I took you step by step through harvesting the plants, cutting them down, hanging them up. I actually went back and did a little defoliating before harvest, and then we cut them down, and then you hung them up. And then the next episode was drying and curing. And then the episode after that was trimming it. And then the episode after that was cleaning up your grow to restart. So I feel like that little series, I put a lot of work into that one. I just did a little change in my life. So I kind of freed up things to do more what I want to do instead of what I felt like I had to do. And I was able to write these podcast episodes the way I feel they should be written and present them the way I felt they deserve to be presented. And I feel that little series, I was really proud of that. And I'm working on, since we just ended the harvest in my series, all the way to cleaning up the grow, I'm working on germinating seeds and cutting clones. And I'm writing a whole nother, basically the whole book from the beginning so that I could do every episode from the beginning all over again for everybody. So that little series, right at the 325-ish, maybe 330s, that's probably some of my proudest work is just the most recent stuff.
Now, do you have a web page that highlights the subject and stuff of the different podcasts? So like if somebody like me was, out there looking for information, that I'd be able to I can go here, here, and here. Do you have like a website kind of thing that lays that out?
Unfortunately, I don't set up enough stuff to link to the website. I need another robot for that. If you can clone me, I would have him do that sort of stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I slack on that. I put a lot of work into the audio, and then I post the YouTube video, and then I don't do a lot of other stuff. I'm not super tech savvy, to tell you the honest truth. It may seem
so
like
you don't have like a WordPress blog or anything that goes along with your site or whatever.
I do not yet. I've got a friend that's working on my website for me, and when he gets it fixed up, that may be something that I'm inspired to do because you're not the first to ask that. That would be really a smart idea.
That's probably one of the biggest questions I get asked a lot is, hey, can you put with a different topic for the different things in each video? And it's one of those things that it's so time consuming. I have to go back and listen to all the episodes and write down what the hell we talked about.
Exactly.
It's just kind of a nightmare.
Or maybe when you're cycling, like you're talking about getting into the cycle again, maybe like start kind of pinging that. So guys like me can kind of get through it.
Yeah. I've thought about cut and pasting my notes because I write my show on a Google Doc, so I could just cut and paste the notes over to the website. So that's probably a good idea. When I get the website worked out, I've got a friend who's working on it. Shout out to that guy who would rather remain anonymous. But when he gets it worked out, we'll add that part because that definitely will help people.
You're starting to frighten me. All your friends want to be anonymous. What's going on with you, bro?
Yeah, that's I don't know.
What is your website for those that don't know?
That's a good question. It is iriegeneticscolorado.com, and it will be updated very soon. It's embarrassing right now. I'll admit it. I haven't touched it in several years. Actually, me and a buddy made that. I drew it on several pieces of paper. I drew the homepage on one piece of paper with the tabs up top, and then when you turn the page of the notebook, here's where that tab takes you. And I just drew it with markers, and I gave it to my buddy, and he took it home. And about 48 hours later, he sent me an email, and he said, "Look at your new website, dude." So yeah, it was just me and a buddy kind of brainstorming, and we got the framework, but it needs a lot of love.
Oh yeah, I feel you. My website's just as bad, if not worse.
I don't even have a website. It's still there.
We lost
Very
Jeff's
hard to
audio
keep up
again.
with them. Very hard to keep up with them. I've got several, and I can't trying to build this network, and I've got so much work to do anyway. And I work for another company that has their forum and 500 articles on for grow facts and lessons like you're talking about putting together.
Yep.
And building the website is crazy. I mean, because when are you going to get the time?
Right.
Sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Were you in growing cannabis and stuff before your injury, or is that what got you into it?
Oh no, I've the brain injury was in 2015, I think. That's hard to remember, right? But no, I've been growing cannabis way before I should even probably admit. I remember helping with the crop when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I was helping another family member with the crop, not even realizing what I was growing, but I was helping them. And then when I lived in Kansas for a little bit, I was working with a band in Kansas, and I discovered a friend's grow on accident. I just saw the HPS light shining through a gap, and something in my heart went, ooh, those are grow lights. I could just tell. And so I waited for the party to dissipate, and I was like, you got a grow in there, bro? And he's like, no. And I was like, well, I could see the grow lights. You might just want to fix that because I can see it. Other people could see it too. And he's like, man, you know what you're talking about. I need help. And he took me in his grow, and like I helped him solve a couple grow issues that he had. And then that's when I fell in love with it as an adult. I was like, okay, I'm growing weed again. So I was growing in Kansas for a little bit, of all places. That's kind of risky. And then when I came back to Colorado, I came back here, and they said, we're going to have medical marijuana. And I said, how many lights can we hang up? How many lights will that house run? Let's do it. And I just started going nuts then.
Yeah, it's not quite as fun as the old Wild West days anymore.
We used to be able to run a bunch of plants. It's back in the day, I could say it now, I would have 99 plants in a house. I had a house on the other side of town with 4 lights, and I would pack 99 little plants under those 4 lights, and I would pull pretty nice harvests. Now everybody has to be legal. They can come look whenever they want. They can knock on the door and walk into the grow. We're allowed to have 12 plants. I've got 11 because one of them was a male, and I cut him down after pollination, and I haven't replaced him. So I keep 11 plants on hand now most of the time, sometimes 6 or 7. If I've just harvested, I'll be minimized. So yeah, things have really changed with legalization.
Yeah, I've had a couple of friends of mine in Colorado actually try to work on like a fruit cocktail kind of tree, where they're growing some and then taking branches off and grafting them to a larger mother. This way they can have 3 or 4 or 5 strains on one mother to have more clones and flower.
That works perfectly. Minimize your amount of mother plants. I've never tried it, but I've seen it done in Amsterdam before, and it definitely works for them.
I have a lot of friends now that have gotten into re-vegging so that they can cycle faster and keep a larger root ball. So especially the concept is basically you do a 2-layer scrog. So you do a 2-layer scrog. So one layer down here, and then about a foot up, you do another layer.
Yeah.
And they harvest the top all the way off, and they leave everything below the net. And then they re-veg out of that. And, obviously it gets crazy and they cut a bunch of stuff off, but you pretty much, when you're done, you can have a decent sized layer still and not spend as long, because arguably by the time you transplant and go into veg and veg those out, even if your veg is 30 days, even you got plants ready to go, so the concept is they can keep a large root ball so that they get heavier fruits and flower as opposed to smaller plants.
So producing a root ball, spending a month developing roots. Now you've already got the roots. Let's just switch them, get the hormones moving. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So
you got clones to back it up too. You can take clones from that once it re-veges.
Plus they'll be monster cropped clones. They'll be any of you guys ever done that?
Yeah.
Flower, monstrous. All fucking crazy.
Now, do you go Hermy? Like if you're re-vegging your ball, are you more prone to going Hermy on it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say yes, for sure. I mean, obviously, I think a whole lot depends on the genetics that you start with. It seems like some of them, you could really put through a lot of abuse without getting, without getting any herms, and some of them you could have a pinhole light leak, and it seems like, it'll herm out in a couple of days.
Those plants don't last in my garden.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I had a old
There's
grower
a scale there somewhere, and I don't know what controls it, but I know some of them are a lot worse than others, and some of them are a lot better than others. So I think that obviously my friends have, looked for ones, or most of them have been doing it long enough to know which ones are stable enough to attempt that with. And the one guy's been doing it about a year. He's got three harvests and under it, and he's all about it right now, and hasn't had any issues yet. But I guess that's always the yet, right?
I don't think you're going to see a lot of herm issues during re-veg because you're actually putting them in a different state. You're not putting them into the flower state, so they're not even going to show. Even if they tried to herm at that point, you won't see it because they're going back to veg. You're only going to see the herm signs when you go into flower again. And hopefully,
the stress on the ball doesn't necessarily lead to herms, kind of later on. Like, I just got back from the Pride Parade, and there were a couple things that went hermy there. And I know we don't want that in the garden, but I just don't understand the difference between the two sometimes. Like, again, I'm the noob here.
So does everyone understand why the cannabis hermaphrodites, like the evolutionary mechanism that causes that and why it evolved?
Yes, sir, I do.
I sure don't.
Cannabis wants to survive. It basically, it wants to survive. It will do almost whatever it can figure out to do to survive. So if you grow it, and this main goal is to get pollinated. That's the purpose of, we call them the hairs. Those hairs are to receive pollen. That plant is horny. It wants pollen. It will do almost anything to get pollen. If you don't give it pollen, it will find ways to pollinate itself. The way to do that is to create its own male parts and spit out pollen so that it can reproduce. The plants are hornier than us. Nobody realizes it, but those plants, all they're there for is to get pollinated. That's their whole goal in life.
Yeah.
Just to take a long time and reproduce. So yeah, they will hurt if you don't. They're so horny that they will fuck themselves if you don't do it for them.
Yep. Yeah,
dude, I might be a marijuana plant.
You've been trying to self-reproduce over there.
So basically,
I at least know I fuck myself over here and again.
Your guys' show is different than mine. This is fun.
Yeah, we just kind of shoot the shit and talk about different questions, different problems and things. So the reason, it evolved to prevent regional extinction. So if it gets too cold at night, that can cause it because it thinks winter's coming. If it's veg too long and it was the summer, maybe an Indian summer or something, and it wants to prevent regional extinction. That's the reason why if you keep a plant in flower, harvest almost all the buds off, and it has a little bit of stuff to veg, eventually just keeping it in flower indefinitely will even produce female pollen.
I think that's how Soma makes some of his feminized seeds. He just overflowers until he produces pollen.
Yep. And that's
especially
great.
if you keep on encouraging root growth. If you can get it, the plant's like almost going into senescence, but you've still got room for the roots to grow, and you can encourage them to grow in some way.
Just keep the nitrogen up. Keep your nitrogen.
Keep the nitrogen up, then you're really likely to get.
Yep. No, you'll almost guaranteed it.
A little bit of seed kelp will help them come out of the flower also.
Oh yeah.
Colin Gordon wrote a great article about feeding them gibberellic acid to get them to re-veg more quickly, but I don't have enough knowledge on that. But Colin Gordon wrote that article if you want to find it.
So, I was reading an interesting article the other day since you got brought up that topic. We had talked about before on the show once or twice about polyploids and crocusine, and apparently no one's got an actual documented one that they can prove where they used crocusine. There's a lot of rumors, but there's actually and there's some evidence to prove that might not even be possible with cannabis, which is interesting because it's talked about a lot.
So we got to find the guy who claims he did it and get his video footage.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it might be like
pictures
that guy
online.
Trained bees, remember?
I don't think it's been used in many plants. There's some marigold or something. There's some ornamental or chrysanthemum or something like that that's been polyploided, or I think it's rare. And people are always showing these pictures of, look at my double sunflower, it's polyploid and everything, but I'm not sure.
So there's two different ways. It can happen as natural genetic mutation, and then you can force it with the crocusine. Now, natural genetic mutation, I've seen that once when I was in Jamaica, when I was waltzing through the fields, and it was just a natural on its own. It's like a 1 in 900,000 genetic mutation or something like that. Variegation is like a 1 in 200,000, I think it is. Memory serves me right. So, you know, it's just one of those things that's going to happen. If you have 1 million seeds, you're probably going to used to have one. You know what I mean? Actually, Breeder Steve would be the person to ask on that one. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. He would know the answer to that question. We should have asked him then.
Episode 2.
Right? Oh, he's great. I've been talking to him off and on since I started doing aquaponics. He was the first guy to do aquaponic cannabis production, document it way back in 1996 over on Overgrow. He's like the OG for that.
You said way back in 1996. How old are we getting, dude? Wow.
Well, there's not that much internet writing, like, you know, for cannabis. You would never talk about that back then.
That's just rude.
What?
I said there's no reason to say it that way. That's just rude.
I was on Overgrow before Breeder Steve. I was on there in like the early 90s.
before the
internet.
With IRC still.
Just Usernet then.
That's a good one.
Me, Roger, and Green Jeans are getting pissed right now, just so you know.
Hey, I'm dating myself too.
I'm the old man. I still think I'm the old man. I can't tell for sure. Sorry, Steve.
Back in '96, it's deficient. That's all we're trying to say. That's all we need. It helps us.
We are getting old, right? That's great.
In the paper ages.
Trying to think, what was the first year I grew? I guess it was in the 2000s.
Yeah, all that polyploid stuff. All I know is a rose is a rose is a rose, and a chrysanthemum by any other name would be easier to spell.
Going with it.
Sounds good.
It's colchicine. Colchicine is the chemical, and Steve, you're thinking of it's made from the autumn crocus.
Yeah,
is the name of the flower that the chemical colchicine comes from. And you know, people have been using it. They've been using it in agriculture to try to make mutations. And I think what you do is you try to kill most of the seeds. You've got to get an LD 99% going, you know, so that you waste almost all the seeds. And then the theory is that the seeds that survive, or maybe you can treat directly the plant too, is another idea, I guess. But
well, it causes
so you want only a few seeds from the crop to survive, thinking that will cause a mutation.
Yep.
I think that, yeah, and then that would theoretically, those seeds would have mutations, and many of them might be bad mutations. You know, many of them when they, you know, but maybe if you kept on doing it, if you had a lot of seeds, and
yeah, could be like fasciation. You guys ever had any plants go fasciation with the ribbon? They call it ribbon stock or flat stock.
You know, I've seen that in a commercial grow before, but I've never had it personally, and I don't know what was going on in their grow to cause it.
So it's a natural genetic mutation, usually a result of inbreeding or line breeding. Yeah, it's one of the, like, I never saw that in Jamaica after going field after field after field. Never saw it, but I did see some other weird mutations that, you know, but that one specifically is very associated with inbreeding. Actually, saw it in a pumpkin the other day when I was at a vegetable patch, which I thought was really strange.
I was going to say, I think I've seen that in sunflowers. I've seen people occasionally posting pictures of that, sunflowers with super flat stems and really distorted.
Mutated flowers at the top.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, what's interesting too is polyploids won't get pollinated. So in theory, you could grow a bunch of polyploid cannabis if you could make it work right next to, let's say, a hemp field crop and have no worry about the males in the hemp.
You know, that's what I was thinking about, that I have a plant like that's really difficult to pollinate. But our friend that was on the other day from Australia, he was talking about they had another clone that was going around there that was also, you know, completely resistant, I guess, to pollen. This plant I have, Chill Jill, you can dust it and you'll just get a few seeds. If you were to sit there and baptize the plant, you'll get, you know, a handful of seeds off her. And I don't know why. I mean, I've tried many times. You can get seeds, but
it's some kind of mutation with the pistils.
It must be. You can see actually they has some of them are the split hair thing, but that's fairly common. I'm not sure that prevents pollination, but some of them have, and it's not all of them either. Some of them have like a club ending, like a little the end looks like it's a ball kind of. And so I haven't really got in and closely looked at her, you know, like under a microscope. I really should. But yeah, it's got to be something to do with the pistils, I think, because apparently only some of them work.
Yeah, you just a pistol and an ovule is all you need. So it's got to be that pistols would be my assumption.
Must be, yeah. It's really interesting. But the guy from Australia said that they had one down there that this was completely impossible to pollinate. I was like, wow, really?
That'd be fun and frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah.
Like cut the flower structure open just to pollinate the damn thing.
Right. I want to reverse it and see what I can do with it.
You're like, I'll impregnate her. Just bring her over here.
Yeah.
You guys are all thinking that right now. Like, really? Impregnable? I bet I could do it.
Well, as a breeder, that kind of would work. That would be advantageous because then I could make crosses that you could never replicate. You could never go further with it because now it doesn't receive pollen. You bought my seeds, you grew it out, you tried to pollinate it. You can't. You have to buy more seeds.
And I'll be honest with you, something like that terrifies me. Like, I get why it makes sense from a cannabis thing, but I've talked about this for, I think, 3 years now, about I could see the government forcing everything to be ruderalis or ruderalis cross for home grows. This way they can control the taxation on all the seeds and all the grows. They can control plant count. Like, I can totally see them doing that. And it's something I've been very, very leery of, and I've spoken about a couple of times. I know it sounds very conspiracy theorist, but it seems like something they would do.
Well, stop giving them good ideas.
Quit telling them. You know,
They're gonna watch at some point.
It would kill
They're already
innovation.
watching.
Yeah, it would kill innovation. Would
Yeah.
kill things like, our guest doing tonight, the kind of things that Mr. Green Jeans does, and stuff that you do too, Steve. Yeah, it would kill it.
Oh yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would.
Everything.
I wouldn't consider it as a breeder, but I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's thinking, "Hey, I could make this dead end gene."
Well, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I've been around enough breeders to understand their plight enough to know that there's probably a large portion of them be like, they wouldn't do it, but they'd be like, oh, and that would solve so many problems that I have right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seems like no. Everybody wants to be like, hey, just, sell me these for like $5 a seed and, let me make a fortune off of them. And thanks. Like, how is that? I don't know how that's anybody's attitude about it personally. Like, it always, like, I've never bred a single plant in my life, but mostly because I have a lot of friends who do it already. So there's not really a necessity for me to,
Yep.
like 2 phone calls and I have a list of like, 40 different strains that I can get clones of. So,
Right.
for, of production stuff too, not, anyway, like I know how much work goes into that and then how much people want, like just outright think that they should be able to take advantage of that. And and if you don't want to, pay for quality seeds, then the guy that's trying to charge you a fair price for what they're selling you is always somehow a greedy sellout because he wants to, I don't know, pay his mortgage. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It drives me nuts.
I've noticed that there's a really nice trend towards selling the high CBD strains very, very inexpensively. And I heard that there was a group of guys in Colorado, I guess. Then there was a really large seed giveaway. They gave away a whole pant load of seeds related to the, oh man, I don't have the U4 or the EU4 plant. These plants are like related to Charlotte's Web and Shirley Temple and that kind of stuff.
The R4.
And so, yeah, and I noticed that a lot of people are selling that the seeds are they've got the strain and whatnot, and they're turning around and reselling those seeds for very inexpensive, which I think is really cool. To be kind and sell medical stuff inexpensively. It always should be either free or incredibly or very cheap. Yeah,
and
then
I definitely agree with that. Absolutely.
Charge a lot for your recreational, your strain that has fucking 28%.
There you go.
Your male there, Jeff, pay top dollar and pay top dollar for that.
I think the websites, I lose business on some of my vendor websites because my seeds are so affordably priced that it scares people away. If you look at my seeds right next to my competition, I sell a 5-pack. Most of the websites I recommend they sell them for $30 a 5-pack. My competition is $50 to $75 a 5-pack. So people say, what's wrong with them? Why are they so cheap? But what's wrong with them is I want everybody to be able to grow good cannabis. I don't need to get rich off making seeds. I want to be comfortable. I want to smoke some good dabs and have fun with my family. Then I'm happy. I don't need to drive a Ferrari. I just want everybody to feel good.
Yeah, man.
Excellent.
Well said.
Well, it's a balance, as somebody on the outside, it's a balance between doing that and having the resources to conduct your research and your testing so that an idiot like me, when I get a seed, I don't have to go stupid with it, because I don't have the skill sets that you guys have. So, I don't mind paying for quality, because I'm not going to grow a lot, and what I am going to grow, I'm going to suck at it. So having something that has had the research and the development into it, that's a worthwhile product for a noob like me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I still want to make sure that a noob like you doesn't spend $75 and kill the seeds, because seeds
Fair
are
enough.
delicate. And,
Yeah, fair enough.
And I want to make sure you don't kill them. I feel bad when people say, man, I bought seeds and they died. I'm like, what's your address? You get more. Like, I don't want you to be out. I would rather be out 5 seeds than you be out $50. That hurts my feelings for some reason.
We do that too. We replace your seeds whether you kill them or they don't germinate or they get lost in the mail. You get another pack of seeds, and then we try to teach you to grow successfully. That's what
I was gonna say about Roger too. They're all about that on their forums and stuff too.
Yeah.
They got tons of information about it. If you like, hey, let's try again. I feel like is the attitude.
Right.
Make sure you post it. Start a grow journal so that we can make sure you do it right. And here's the articles that tell you how to start your seeds.
Absolutely.
Right.
People work hard for their money, and if they're spending $30 on seeds, that's probably 4 or 5 hours worth of work for somebody. If you think about taxes and all the crap that goes into a day's work, they just spent a whole day's work to get a package of seeds, and then they died. Oh,
that could be a week's of groceries for a couple. That's a week's worth of groceries for a couple.
Yeah, that could make or break you. That could be everything in your life. That one pack of seeds, you might have to save up all month or 2 months just to have that extra $30-$40 to get them. So yeah, I don't want to see that happen to anybody. And then they were expecting medicine, and now they don't even have any medicine to show for the money they spent. They wasted dirt and lights. Yeah, it makes me, and I don't want to do that to anybody. So yeah, you get seeds. And I'm going to get a bunch of people saying, my seeds didn't germinate. You know what? They're going to get seeds. I don't even care if it really did or not. That's just what we got to do.
I think that's awesome that you got that kind of attitude, because that's how you go far. Because you got to give. You got to give back. I mean, people think, I was thinking about this a while ago, perfect time. People always think they're going to make so much money if they get in the cannabis industry. And most of the people in the cannabis industry spend half their time giving back to the people the new growers and the medical patients,
Absolutely.
whether it be with product or genetics or just the time to teach them how to grow. I know I did it for, 10 or 11, 12 years before somebody recognized me and said, hey, I want you to work for us and do that, and I was like, really? Not just free seeds every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, really? You're going to pay me to show up and do this? Okay.
But that's how you get free seeds, folks. You got to get a job on a cannabis site, a seed bank or something. You want free. If you don't want to pay for them, you can't afford them. Learn a lot about the plant. Learn how to teach people, and then people will basically. I've worked for several big sites, and they always gifted me seeds from the seed bank if they had one. Always. Because. How am I going to say that's good stuff unless I get it and try it? It's kind of like that leads me to how Steve's opinion of and Marty. Most of the people on the panel are pretty much like-minded. Now, I don't mind a guy giving me a light to try out. I'm not gonna lie, but what Steve and Marty try to do is not to be not to so much get stuff free, but to pay for it so that they're not beholding, even though sometimes they can get a sponsor. So there's that thought about that too. That if in order to trust the panel here tonight, are they out to make money and sell their brand, or they really want to help people? And I think that we're all here trying to help people.
Oh yeah, we've been here for an hour solid. Yeah, we're here to help.
Yeah, I got to tell you, on the noob side of it, when you look at what you spend for lights, what you spend for air handling, what you spend for air conditioning, what you spend for your good clean soil, you spend for your pots, you spend for your tent, you spend, and then somebody's going to choke on a $5 seed. Do you not understand the math? I mean, Jesus, if you've invested several $1,000s, which is what it seems to cost most people to kind of get going, at least $2,000. To moderately get growing reasonably.
We're in.
Yeah,
I
we're in
can get people growing for $500 to $700 with a really nice setup.
Maybe
Depends
I'm
on how much area you want to cover.
I'm still coming from the not legal, and
Well,
I'm in fart,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
had to
but
spend money to keep it quiet. So,
if you buy
you
a
know,
$3,000 LED, that's
yeah,
the
yeah. So you got,
It's
you
cell
got
mitigation.
you got a lot of, you got $2,000 going on, and then somebody wants to choke on a seed. It's like, dude, do the math. You put all this money in this equipment. You're going to be spending a whole bunch of money with San Diego Gas and Electric, to get your air conditioning and this, that, and the other thing. Get yourself a good ass seed that has the research behind it, that has the documentation behind it.
Yeah,
If
there's
good
so many guys
genetics is
that'll
where it
just
all
go out.
starts.
They'll spend, how much ever hundreds of dollars on Gavitas and carbon filters and fancy fans and grow tins,
The magnetic
all kinds of
things.
stuff, and then they'll shop around for the cheapest dirt seed that they can possibly find,
right.
or the smallest, gnarliest little clones that they can possibly scrounge up from a friend, and
Craigslist $5 clones.
yeah,
Yep.
All
never
the
makes
spider
sense.
mites that you can handle.
Ooh, yeah. There you go. If you went to the pharmacy and you said, hey, I need medicine, I've got this condition, and they said, oh, the medicine that your doctor recommended is this. And you've got two options. You can spend $100 and you can get the one that's going to cure you in like 4 doses, or you can spend 5. You're going to have to take them for 7 weeks and it might work. Your choice. People are going to say, give me the $100 cure, right? You're not going to say, I'll pay you $5 and hope it works over a 7-week period. I wish people realized that's what they were doing with their seeds. That's a really good way to put it, I think.
Yeah.
Good
That's-
point, Tommy.
And
Plus,
that's why
if you've
it's
never had to tear out something because of bad genetics, we talk about even people and their medicine, and we obviously that when you put a month into something, that's time you can't get back. So if you get partway into flower, whether you fuck something up and it herms out, whether you might screw up and it herms out, whether you bought a cheap timer and it died, or any of those things, no matter what it is, you just lost a month's worth of flower, there's almost nothing you can do. So the fact that you're willing to just reimburse people for seeds, it's at least something, they've already lost a lot. You know what I'm saying? Even especially when I was talking about people not willing to reimburse growers, I'm mostly talking about and maybe this is a situation that's a little more prominent in Oregon these days, but there's a lot of people, for-profit growers that are looking to get a lot of seeds or a lot of clones for a very small amount of money, and that's where I feel like the breeders really should get more respect, I guess, or be more willing to get reimbursed when you have guys that are out trying to make a fortune and still trying to bust a guy's balls over seeds. I just don't find that ethical at all.
There's a lot of people that have a lot. Obviously, it's a mixed world, but I just wanted I spent a lot of money this year on seeds, and some folks that I even had at the conference in Humboldt speak at it, I bought seeds from, and I had some packs that only 1 or 2 seeds popped out of, and I just mentioned it not in a way because it could have been my fault. I popped a lot of seeds, and I was totally hey, I popped a lot of seeds, but just so you know, I only 1 or 2 came out. Just heads up. Whatever, it might have been me. But then I met up with other folks that had the same experience with the same packs. And it's oh, dude, shoot, you know what I mean? No one's trying to do anybody wrong, and I spent a lot more than $50 on a pack. They were $180 packs, big.
And see, if a few people told me that they had a problem that only 2 worked, I would take that whole seed line and I wouldn't sell anymore. And I would figure out which batch those problems are coming from. I would just start growing the shit out of them myself. And then I'd figure out, was it this batch that I did in January, or was it the spring batch? I would find out where they came from. And those would probably just go into my vault. Those would be for me to grow and nobody else.
You're actually the most arrogant seed distributor I've ever met. They were super rude to me at a conference, and they gave me 2 boxes of seeds for me to try because they'd seen my podcast and stuff before. And I was like, sure, I'll take them, whatever. But I was super turned off by them just by how they treated me. And I cracked 8 seeds, 1 germinated. So.
You got me curious. I really want to know who that was.
I'll happily tell you off air.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Get really
that's sad because there's so many companies. Well, there's a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of the phenomenon of the legalization and the recreational growing, and they're just, who knows? I might just pick out a bunch of dark seeds out of this lonely bag of bag seed they've had in the back of their drawer for 10 years and sell them as, lollipops, and Lollipop Express, and now you're paying $75 for 5 seeds, and it's dead or pretty much dead, dried out, seeds from a bag seed. You don't know. I don't think everybody's trying to do that. I think there's a lot of really good seed banks and breeders. I think a lot of them are not as much commercial though, as as much in. Well, there's just so much going on. I leave this to Mr. Green Jeans and them, and I see Josh wants to say something.
I was gonna say something. I mean, I totally would lean to Mr. Green Jeans' experience, but I just think a lot of breeders don't have the experience to. No one had the experience to see what legalization was going to look like,
Right.
And so when people are breeding in small closets and small spaces, it's way different than like I'm growing, an acre of cannabis by myself. Essentially, I now have a helper, but like it's way different than like it was 2 or 3 years ago for me, at least. I wasn't growing this much weed at all. I was growing like 10, 12 lights, 24 lights, whatever, right? And so I give that like kind of grace to like we're all kind of noobs, to be honest,
in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
the whole industry is so new that nobody can be a pro yet.
But still, this is new to me. I've never grown this much cannabis. It's cool,
Okay, Josh, can I ask you a favor? Is there any way you can turn up your volume on your microphone?
Yeah. Does that help you? Is it cutting out again?
No, not you, Jeff. Josh.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I don't have my headset in.
As long as you turn yours down a little bit, Roger.
Well, I try to keep talking. I can't hear Josh much. I mean, I can hear him, but I got to crank up mine.
So Jeff, what are some of the other interesting things you've learned while doing your podcast since you started?
Something totally non-cannabis related. Everything you say is on the air. It's recorded, and people have heard that shit, and they're going to hold you to it. If you say something different 4 years later, somebody is going to send you an email saying, hey, in episode 4, you said this. In episode 304, you said this. What the fuck, dude? The internet is crazy. The internet gives you so much accountability. So that's one thing I've noticed. And people remember things that I never thought they would remember. Like I was saying, in episode 4, I may say something and they'll just start a conversation with me about it, and they'll bring up stuff and they'll remember things that I talked about that I don't even remember doing or saying. So the internet is crazy like that. That's something I've learned from doing the podcast. Also, it's ever changing. The things that I said in episode 100 don't even apply anymore in episode 335. This industry is so new and it's changing so quickly that I've got to stay on top of everything. It's going to be different tomorrow. The podcast I recorded yesterday about whatever is irrelevant now. It changed tomorrow. So that's something I've learned. I've got to really stay on top of it.
That's how the laws go. That's why everything keeps changing, is if you don't like the laws, wait 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait 2 weeks, you'll hate them more.
Probably around here. Yep.
No, I'm not even joking. California is insane. Like, it's pure insanity. And not only that, so like we're going for a license in this one county not too far from here, and the city council decided that on Tuesday of this week we were supposed to have our draft for the fall of what the laws are going to be. Pushed it back to mid-August, date unknown. Like, even if you want to do things the right way, it's psychotically painful.
That's how it was here when we got started as well. Super expensive, super time consuming, and painful.
Yeah,
they want it to be hard, and they want it to cost you money. So
California's made it completely insane. And the biggest thing is
California already, so
they have to eliminate local control. Local control has to be abolished. Thankfully, it looks like that there's a good chance that will happen in the fall here. The state 85%, for those of you who don't know, 85% of California has banned cannabis businesses.
Wow.
So, and the state wants their tax money.
Oh yeah, they do.
They're going to abolish this local ban bullshit come the fall.
That's
hopefully.
pretty cool.
But it sounds like they're going that way. They're gonna basically, the state's gonna issue waivers, and once you have that, you can basically tell your local city council to shove it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we were trying to work. I'm working on a project with Steve. We're trying to work with a local city that it literally invited us to be the marijuana people, and we're dancing and dancing and dancing with them, inviting them to classes, educating, and then all of a sudden, a bus group comes in from the church, and everybody gets their knickers in a knot, and they stop everything, and God bless Steve, he had to stand up in front of these people and say, "Look, we are trying to work with you. We are trying to make sure you get paid. We want to be good neighbors in this community. We've been good neighbors before marijuana. We want to be good neighbors after it. But if you don't play ball, the state regs are going to come in and you're not going to get your tax money. Please get on board." And still, they have. I mean, I don't understand how they don't see and they don't think, but there it is, exactly what Steve's talking about.
Well, what happens is there's a local Catholic church that buses in a whole clown car loads of people that come in and do all kinds of theatrics, completely uneducated on cannabis, all just speaking total nonsense. And it got to the point where the city council had to basically just say, "Hey, stop with the theatrics. Like, no more. Like, if you want to bring up a legitimate concern, cool. Don't just start parading your children out here." Like,
yeah, just go find an altar boy and shut up.
Yeah, so they had 10. This one family has 10 different kids, and they tried to do the 10 reasons why cannabis should not be allowed in the city that we're applying to. That's ridiculous. First off, you have to be 16 to talk to the city council anyway, in most places. So what this is just ridiculous. There's no reason for this crap, and this is the kind of shit that we have to put up with. And I'm just a legitimate business owner, just trying to open a business. This is insane.
And pay taxes to them. Want to pay them. We want the cops happy. We want the fire marshal happy. We want to pay our money because we want to be a real contributing business in the business community. And they're making it a grudge fuck. It's ridiculous.
No, it's pure insanity. Some of the shit that we've had to deal with. I could go on for a good hour or two. I'm sure Marty could too.
We've talked about it so many times, and for me, I think that, the top of it is just like the nature of these people are almost always conservative, and in every other aspect of their life and everything they want: smaller government, less regulation, no new taxes. And then as soon as cannabis gets involved, they turn into the most liberal motherfucker that you've ever met in your life. You're like, all of a sudden, the government should come in and tell you what you should grow on your property and what you can't grow on your property. They should be able to charge you tons of money to verify that you're growing it correctly, because the government's the only one who knows how to grow it correctly. And they just become fine with their, they want everything. They want more regulation. We think the government needs to come in and fuck this up some more, even though in every other aspect of my life, I'd never want that to happen to anybody I know. And I would be like grabbing my guns and going off to the local refuge to keep it hostage over cattle rights, because you don't want to have any of that stuff happen that you are now saying we should do that to the weed growers. How do you have such little principle? For me, I just don't understand how, and then claim like a moral high ground in all of it on top of that. I just don't know how people have that little of a conscience. I guess it always surprises me. And there's plenty of them. There's one right there. I can see him in his backyard.
Do you need a pellet gun?
No, thank you.
No, he needs a crossbow.
But the kids, what about the kids? We don't need the kids in the marijuana and the kids in the community.
Right.
What about all that stuff, right?
Well, that's the biggest bullshit argument, because since 2012, when cannabis got voted and legalized in 2013, it was legalized in Colorado. There has not been a single dispensary in any state that has sold to a minor.
I think we may have had a couple of violations one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we may have, but they were only written as warnings. Nobody was actually written up. There was a sting that happened a while back, and I think they did get some problems. But I think the actual issue was they let an expired ID pass. I don't think the person was too young. I think they used an invalid expired ID, which is technically illegal still. But yeah, you're mostly correct. We're not. The dispensary licenses cost millions of dollars. Like you said, we've got to jump through hoops for 6 months just to open up our businesses. Why are we going to risk it to sell a $60 bag of weed to some kid when we can keep that business open and sell $60 bags of weeds to every adult that walks through the door? There's no reason to do that.
And at least if the kid scores a bag of weed from a friend out of the dispensary, it's traceable, it's trackable. They're not smoking that dumbass spice stuff from the 7-Eleven. God only knows what the fuck's in that. You know, I mean,
Well, we do know what's in
even
it.
if you cheat, you're way further ahead of the game than getting a bag of fentanyl or something like that.
Well, we don't have to worry about the paraquat on their weed or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, the same people that, again, that want to, say all this stuff will go home and drink their single malt scotch and leave it open on their
Pop their
counter right
pills.
next to their kid that walks by. And they'll probably be lucky and nothing will happen. But the main difference is if your kid, your 3-year-old, pulled that down off the counter and drank that single malt scotch till they were dead, that's a possibility. With cannabis, he's going to eat it and then I have a hard time pooping.
Yeah, my folks drank a lot of watered down single malt.
Yeah, we talk about like being so concerned about the kids, but I'm not sure you are. Like, I don't think so. Otherwise, you could just look at the facts. Like, one is a deadly substance that in one serving could kill your child, and the other one is not. And if you can't objectively tell the difference between the two, I don't even know where to start with you. Like, I don't know where to land. I don't know where the conversation even begins, because that just seems like a certain amount of objectivity has to be in order there. And if it's not, you sound like you already have a lot of bias.
We've been programmed for so long by DARE and by whatever war on drugs program was in your neighborhood. All of the, like, not my parents, but my parents' parents, my grandparents, they were that generation that was against weed. A lot of their friends thought that we were the heathen family because a lot of my uncles and mom and aunts all smoked cannabis. My grandma and grandpa did not, but they knew what was going on with their kids, and their friends acted like we were the heathen family because they were programmed and trained that in their day, it was reefer madness. They thought that if black people smoke cannabis, they're going to rape all the white women. They thought if white people smoke cannabis, they're going to turn into jazz musicians. They were told all this bullshit to be programmed to believe it. So we got to break that brainwashing before we can even let them have an idea that it might be medicine. So far, they think it's poison that's going to make us crazy. So we got to totally reverse it and then convince them it's medicine.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, and it's fucked up, but it's the truth, is that if it wasn't for the AIDS crisis and now the opioid crisis, we would not have legalization, period, and spreading the way that it is, and the seizures with the children. Those three things are why we have the movement we have now. And it was so great to hear from Wayne last week about that when we were at the Castro Castle. And Jeff, if you ever come to San Fran, let me know. We'll go over and hang out with them. But
sounds great.
Take you where 215 was written. But they're fucking awesome guys over there. I always love going there. It's where I go for all my holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that shit. If it wasn't for, previously the HIV crisis and cannabis being the only thing that they found would help those people before retrovirals, before all that shit, was the only thing that seemed to have any kind of positive response for these people. And now we have the opioid crisis, and we're seeing how the cannabis is helping people get off of opioids, or even give them the pain relief so they can wean themselves off. And it's really, without that, I really do think that you would not see the push for legalization you're getting, at least for medical.
Talking to Jeff's point there, and also to Steve's, I'm 100% opiate free now, have been for close to 2 years, I think it is now, because of cannabis. And to Jeff's point, what he was talking about, how the generations kind of see stuff. My mom's in the prayer ministry at her church and everything like that. I'm a militant atheist, but I still go to church, and my kids taught as open atheists in the Sunday school at church. So it was a pretty, kind of liberal church, but still you had that older generation like I was talking about. And I have gone to those women and I have sprayed some of my stuff, my CBD stuff, on their hands. And you ever see the women with the really, pronounced arthritic hands, right? And I'll just spray a little stuff on there. It's 2 minutes later. They're like, oh my gosh, what is that? And you tell them that right there, that's marijuana.
Right?
And they freak the fuck out.
Am I gonna get high?
And then they go, but they're feeling their hands and they haven't felt their hands like that and they're not high. And they go, but how much is that? And just that fast, you can take a granny, and I've done it to countless grannies. I love grannies. They're so sexy. And have gotten them stuff. But talking again to Jeff's point, my mom knows what I do. Okay. And just, yes, she loves me. I'm her son. For some odd reason, she still loves me. But always had her things to say. It wasn't until her sister brought her some CBD tincture she was using. And I look at this stuff and it's just fuck all nothing. It's not like what I make. I do some things. I'm on the chemistry side that makes it bioavailable and everything. And I'm like, Mom, And so finally, after her sister got her to try the stuff that I've been making for years, my mom finally tries my stuff and she says, ooh, you're good. And I'm like, Mom, you should have known that. I'm your son. You raised me. You know I'm good. Why didn't you take my stuff in the first place? Just hilarious shit. But, and like talking about bringing in these busloads of Catholics and everything. You get some real product in somebody's family. You save somebody's grandchild who's seizing, or you help a grandmother open a jar of pickles. Everything changes.
Seeing is believing.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure when I found out my own mother's secretly using a little bit, she was mysteriously extremely interested in our antidote product. We have a product we're working on. It's an antidote and helps drop THC out of your bloodstream. And she was asking a lot of very detailed questions on how to make some at home.
You found your edibles.
Yeah.
Well, it's only fair. I used to get into my parents' liquor cabinet. Now they get into my marijuana cabinet. Fair enough.
Perfect.
Yeah. Arthritis is definitely one of the ones that can be sort of that instant realization, because if you put it in, even just coconut oil, I've found, like adding tincture to coconut oil, and maybe a couple of essential oils to kind of give it a little smell, and just let them put that on their arthritis hands or knees or whatever they have, and just give it 5 minutes, and then ask them, hey, how's that feel now?
Who's your daddy?
Oh, well, that feels pretty good,
Who's your chemist, baby?
And you'll find that people with arthritis, people that have chronic pain, they're willing to try things and are open to sort of more stuff when you realize somebody that has true chronic pain, if there's something that might be able to solve it even for a time, you'll get their attention, and you put that stuff on and they feel that kind of relief in their joints, and it's I definitely have done that many times for elderly family members of myself, just co-workers, and it's one of the ones that like, I know we were talking about people with epilepsy and seizures and stuff. And when those people are in your family, you have that same kind of thing. You're like, well, maybe the marijuanas aren't so bad. Let's give them a shot. And you got to reach out to those people. You have to, for sure.
The other we've talked about it a couple of times too. The other big one for that is kratom. I know Tommy's a big advocate.
Oh yeah, I like I said, I'm 100% opiate free, and so far, I think my numbers, it's 9 or 10 people that have been dealing with opiates for at least 2 years, who are now 100% opiate free like me. And it's between cannabis, primarily CBD. Obviously, THC has a lot to do with, THC does not relieve pain as much as it makes you not give a fuck.
Yeah.
I still hurt, but I don't give a fuck. CBD helps more with the pain, but for like guys like me, like I don't know if you notice, I'm laying in bed, I'm missing 7 discs in my spine. It's pretty messed up. I could eat handfuls of opiates, and I did, but I don't. Now, I go through a fair amount of kratom, but the difference between kratom and opiates is, number one, my dick still works. Okay. If you're eating enough opiates that you can't feel 7 discs missing in your spine, you can't feel anything below your belly button either. Okay. Kratom handles it, and my girlfriend loves it because I'm there when I'm supposed to be there. Unlike I can do on opiates. I can poop at will rather than needing a plan and a corkscrew to poop. And there's just all these different things that are great for it. But yeah, the cannabis is a huge benefit because of the analgesic effects, the anti-inflammatory effects, and then just for general pain relief. Boy, that kratom is some serious stuff. I hope they don't take that away.
Kratom's one of the only drugs that when they pushed for Schedule 1, they changed their mind. Not the only drug that they actually were able to petition and stop. So, but kratom, a lot of people don't know kratom actually is an opioid, just is not addictive in the same way.
I will admit, after being on it for years, and I am on higher doses than probably anybody else on kratom, but I was on handfuls of opiates, and I can notice a little tinge of addictive kind of stuff where most anybody wouldn't, but it does not even bear the same name of addictive kind of reactions like anything opiate, like anything barbiturate, any of like the Valiums or lorazepams or anything like that, which, I have anxiety things. I'm pretty fucked up. I don't know if you can tell, that I've had to take, and some of those things can develop dependency within days. It took me 2 years to even notice if I'm a little bit low on kratom, that I can feel slight things where if I was taking, a lorazepam or a Valium or something like that, the diazepams, or if I was taking any of the opiate classes, because I had to do a lot of morphine, I had a lot of do a lot of different kinds of opiates. Those things, man, if you're missing them for a couple hours, your world gets ugly. And there's a slight thing potential with kratom if you're eating frickin' handfuls of it, which I do. I'll admit it, but it's nothing that you can't basically ignore. It's not like you're going to lose your shit literally like you do when you try to give up opiates. I was spraying in the bathroom for 2 weeks giving up opiates. Nothing like that happens with kratom. It's nowhere near it, even though it's in the same family. I'm just sharing with anybody out there who's looking for pain relief and for alternative methods. Please explore a responsible source of kratom. Yeah.
So Jeff, what would be some of the best episodes for people to get into your podcast? Was there anyone, start off with the early ones, or just start kind of work their way backwards? What do you recommend for people new to your podcast?
I would say just jump in with whatever pops up into your feed. If you jump in and subscribe now, listen to the most recent, the most recent episode had some tech issues. So listen to the one before that. It's much better. but just jump in where you are. And then if you enjoy what you're hearing, then go back and listen to number 50. I kind of did 50 won't be on iTunes or Stitcher, but it is on YouTube. Number 50, I did kind of like an introduction on myself and I talk about who I am. So it's fun to listen to that one and then listen now and see where I've come and how far I've evolved since then. But I think they're all good. I think just the most current one is probably, I think it's kind of embarrassing to go back and listen to the old stuff myself. So I'd say the most current episodes are probably where I'd recommend you start.
Cool. Yeah, it's always something I like to ask when people come on the show.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So is there anything that maybe you haven't had a chance to do yet on your podcast or cover that you're really looking to, go after in the future?
No, the thing that I need to do next is become a better interviewer and start getting some of my other friends in the grow community on. I'm really close to all the best growers and breeders on the planet. A lot of them are right here in Colorado. They live an hour from me, 2 hours from me, or near me. And I don't take advantage of that because I don't feel comfortable interviewing. So I just need to step up that. This sort of a format really made me feel more comfortable with that. So that's what I think I realized I need to do next and what I've been missing from the podcast.
Mm-hmm. I think if you give it a chance, basically a lot of what Steve does to start a lot, just tell us about what you do. Yeah. And there you go. Then you just do what you did tonight, but you just ask them a question. You prepared a few questions, and for when it dries up, once they tell what they're doing, that's basically how Steve starts, and then he's always prepared with good questions.
Yeah,
about what you like, what your favorite.
Let me ask you something else. How long have you been growing your dreads? As another white guy growing dreads.
These dreads are 13, almost 14 years old.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, how about yourself?
Mine will be 7 in December.
Okay, well, yours are pretty long, bro. Pretty long for 7 years.
Yep. Yeah, yours are one of the only people I know that's longer than mine that I've had a chance to meet that works in the weed industry. There aren't too many people with like borderline waist-like dreads sitting around.
Yeah, they get in the way. I've got a friend named Jules. Shout out to Dreadful J. She's got some beautiful dreads. And our friend Rasta has some long dreads. He's in the industry too. So there's a few more of us.
Cool. Yeah, I actually had to shave my beard when I was in Jamaica. Not shave my beard, but I cut it almost in half. And then I've been trimming it a little bit lately because we're working with a lot of power tools. And don't need that.
No. Oh, God. That's brutal. Yeah, they're rarely down if I'm in a grow. They go up in some sort of a hat or a wrap or something. Yeah, they can't be down in a grow. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Plus, mites can hitchhike and all that shit.
Everything wants to hitchhike in the dreads. Mites, probably powdery mildew. Yeah, they get cleaned up quite often.
Oh yeah. Yep. No, it was funny. I was in an organically certified grow the other day in Texas, and they didn't have any hair nets that were big enough for me, so I just took a paint strainer and put that on my head and tied that up. It was fine.
There you go. I usually wrap them in a wrap and then put a hat over that. And I'm like, nothing is getting in or out of there. And that usually satisfies people.
Word. Well, you got a backup plan now. Let's bring some paint strainers.
It's a good idea. Just a big Walmart bag.
Yep.
Small trash bag.
Yeah, tall trash bags. That's right. And then just vacuum, just heat it up, and then it'll tighten around. Shrink wrap.
Shrink wrap. Yeah, great for the rain,
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. I never thought of that. In a hurry, just shrink wrap, red wrap. We're gonna make something, bro. We're gonna make something now. You just heard it here first.
So dread etiquette on growing with fishes tonight.
Yeah,
you've had a chance to talk to Scotty and the dude up in Dude Grows. They're pretty close to you guys too.
I'm scheduled to go up to Boulder here in a couple of weeks, and I'm hoping to hang out with Scotty if he's doing well. I'm not sure if you've been updated on his health issues. He's not been doing super well health-wise, but if he's doing all right, I'm going to go visit and take some dabs and hopefully do some recording with him. But no, I haven't been up there yet. They're about 3.5 hours away from me, and the dude just moved to Canada, so he's quite a ways away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were actually originally going to throw an event on Saturday here in the Bay, and then I had to reschedule it for the fall because of Brett's move. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that was his real name, dude.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I said that. It's okay.
Edit that out.
Yep, we'll edit that out. Yeah.
Those are good guys, though. Those are really good guys. I love the respect between the two podcasts. I've got their audience and my audience is quite similar. It's a lot of the same people, so I really have a lot of respect for that whole crew.
Oh yeah, we all
cool. They were on the show and we had a blast with them too.
Our
Cool.
podcasts are only so long, and if you're working in your grow all the time, you want to listen, get a nice rotation. So that's why I like to have other podcasters on and turn people on and cross-pollinate communities, and
I
we
appreciate
learn a lot.
That's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, you and them are the first two people I used to put on when I moved to Colorado, and once I found you guys and was listen to you guys all the time. So
I appreciate that.
And don't forget to come stop by the forum either at ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, because we've got an international forum. So
Excellent.
I mean, I'm not saying 1 million people are going to come out of it for you, but there's people from Australia, Africa, and all around Europe, as well as a ton of them in the United States and Canada. So to give you a chance to get more international listeners, maybe.
Yeah, I'd love to gain the worldwide audience and teach more people how to grow properly.
I have a guy from Jordan that sends me messages on Facebook, and he has them all trimmed below the top of his roof. And if if he gets caught, he's like facing the death penalty or whatever. So he doesn't have many people he can ask questions.
Yeah, that's. I remember those days. I remember when you had to kind of be on the sneaks, and it felt weird. It was a totally different feeling.
Oh yeah, I remember growing up on the East Coast, man. I can't imagine ever talking to anyone about growing. Like that was the last thing I would ever do. It would just, it was suicide basically.
Right, you're snitching right on yourself. They were going to either tell somebody or come take it from you. That was what used to happen. Yep. I used to drive from the grow store in a different car. I would go drive to a friend's house, park in his garage. We would back out of the garage in his car, drive to the grow store, drive back to his house, unload all my shit into my car, back out, and then wait for the sun to go down, and then drive to my house and back into the garage, and then unload all the grow gear so that nobody knew that grow gear was coming to my house. We'd put a step between us. That's how paranoid we used to be.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
And now you just have the veg bloom order delivered by the pallet to your front door.
Yeah, off Amazon.
Yeah, off Amazon. Yep. Yeah. The Amazon guy tells you, or the UPS guy goes, "Man, it always smells good when I ring your doorbell." And you're like, "Oh shit, yes sir."
So I remember in Colorado, one of the places I lived, we actually had a huge grow in the basement, and we just used that to heat the house in the winter. Just no need for a heater.
That's I do similar.
My FedEx driver runs up to the door, knocks, and runs away so he doesn't get high.
They're scared.
Yeah.
The pizza guys love to deliver my pizzas. If I order takeout, that shit is here fast. They like it.
Well, thank you for all your answering all of our questions and coming on the show. I really enjoy having you on.
Oh man, thanks for having me. I had a really good time hanging out with you guys. I appreciate it. You got a great show here. You've got a new fan. I'll be watching the show now.
Thanks. Why don't you tell people how to find you and your podcasts, and how they can listen to more of what you do?
They can find the podcast. It's on iTunes, it's on Stitcher, and it's on most of the places where respectable folks are listening to podcasts. Just search for the Grow From Your Heart podcast. I'm also on YouTube. Most of the feeds only hold 100 episodes. YouTube has all 300 episodes, so you'll be able to go listen to the embarrassing beginning all the way up to the current stuff. Just search for the Grow From Your Heart podcast. I recommend you follow my Instagram. I do Instagram live feeds where I answer cannabis growing questions. I hang out. I take a lot of dabs on there, and I get lit because it's not very formal. It's just a fun hangout. So I don't feel like I have to be on my game as much as I do on the podcast. So I get lit. I take ridiculous dabs. That's my Instagram live feed. It's Irie_genetics on Instagram. Follow me there. And then if you would like to reach out to me and you're not into social media, but you want to message me, my email address is growfromyourheart@hotmail.com. And I try to answer every message personally. I don't have a bot or an assistant. It's all me. So you'll get an answer directly from me.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you for having me.
That's pretty righteous. I have one question before you go on your dreads.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever get crop circles in those things?
If that's what you want to call them, yeah, there are crop circles in there. I'm not sure what a dread crop circle looks like, but that's something we can create. But you guys are a bunch of fun. Are you guys wrapping up the show, or is you gonna keep going?
No, we're gonna keep going. Now we'll talk about whatever all the different panelists have been up to in the last week.
Excellent. Then I'm gonna watch you guys on the YouTube feed, and then I'll be leaving some comments on all your old videos.
Great, thank you. You're welcome to stay and hang out with us if you want. If not, thank you for joining us.
No, I'll let you guys hang out and do your thing. I need to get some food. It's getting kind of late here, but I do appreciate the invite. If you want me back, let me know. I had a great time.
Great, thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hey, thanks a lot, you guys. I'm not sure how to
Thanks a lot.
sign out of here, but I'll figure it out.
Sure, just close the window and you'll be set.
Excellent, you guys. On my show, I always say, until next time, take a fat dab and give your mom a hug for me.
Right.
Good night, Jeff.
Good advice. Good advice.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
bud.
everybody.
So, Mr. Green Jeans, what have you been up to?
Nothing special. I'm up in San Pedro now, but I've got all those. Am I allowed to talk about the genetics?
Yeah.
I mean, I got, kind of researching, of course, some of them come from the Dungeon Vault Genetics. Those guys look really cool. The Brandywine and the Grand Slam. Was wondering about the Blue Hash. Was that from Dynafem?
No, it
Those guys.
It was a hand cross by me and my ex. It was a hash plant
awesome.
and Blue Dream. Hash plant Blue Dream.
Oh yeah.
So the Dungeon Vault Genetics seeds came from Van Ripster. Shout out to Van Ripster. I know his health hasn't been the best.
Cool, excellent. Oh no, sorry to hear about him, but yeah, thanks. Those are Dungeon Vault Genetics. And so then also about the Flow X Chem Dog.
Yep.
That's one you guys made?
So that was Chem Dog that we had from, I don't know where the source was, and then the Flow came from, originally it was from Green Tree Medicinals in Colorado.
So when you say Flow X Chem Dog, you mean Flow on the mother's side, Chem Dog on the daddy's
Chem
side?
Dog was the dad.
Awesome. I got it right. Okay, and then the Bubba Kush X, and I put SOG. I think it was Sour OG.
Sour OG, yep.
Right, and that's the correct direction for that too.
I have no idea what the history on that one. That was just given to me by someone.
Okay, cool, awesome. Just want to know. Oh, and what the fuck is SWAT? What kind of a name?
I have no idea. No idea for that. It's a Colorado strain that a bunch of the plains growers grow. It's a thicker stalk. It's better in wind and storms.
An outdoor strain, maybe.
Yeah, it's an outdoor strain.
It's really hard to get information on for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I mean,
some
searches come up with a lot of chaff, so to speak.
Came from the Fort Collins area of Colorado.
Oh, cool. Oh, shit. My friends in Colorado are from there. Holy shit.
So somewhere around there. Well, east of there. I'll leave the exact town anonymous.
Excellent.
Person.
Excellent.
So how they doing?
They're all looking great. I think a couple of them didn't. Most of the Blue Hash, I didn't get. Oh, and one of the Shirley Temples didn't make it. So I've only got one of those. Couple of them, there were the only one, like the Brandywine. That one went. I think the Flow Chem Dog one was a single one. That one was fine. That one germinated. And some of them I haven't planted. You gave me a bunch of the what was it? It was the BKXSOG, I think it was. I think I have extra ones of those, so I only started about 6 of them. But I think they all germinated.
Sour OG.
Yep, Bubba Kush Sour OG. Yep, and they were 100% germination, I think, if I remember correctly. So they all look great. I'm sorry I'm not there right now to show you. I'm up in San Pedro.
I got your 2 Oreo plants you brought me are doing really well.
Really awesome.
Oh, yeah.
They're vegging quick, I bet. Yeah. They really surprise you. And up there, I'm sure you still have a nice long day length. I bet they'll veg like crazy for the next couple of weeks. Probably won't even show any signs of flowering.
Right now they're equal height, and as soon as I figure out which one I like a little bit more, I'm gonna throw it in the mom room and just clone it.
Yeah, they're both Oreo, but yeah, one will probably look nicer than the other. But yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what else is new with you? Anything?
Yeah, not much. We're just we're kind of Nothing cannabis so much. Making the medicine. Yeah, that's really great. I had a couple of getting orders for seeds. My wife is handling that. It's working out great. Oh yeah, the email that she told me about it, and I remember that I was supposed to tell you the name Robert Connell Clark, right? That's the guy we were talking about. Who do we get on?
Yep.
Yeah, Robert Connell Clark, the guy that wrote, and I believe he has a Facebook page, so you probably can just hit him up on Facebook, and you spell it Robert. First name, second name, Connell.
I'll get it from
It's
you.
like E. Oh, okay, yeah. I'll tell you.
You got a beeping in the background there.
Yeah, I do, and I'm trying to get it. I'm sorry. Shoot.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are live right here. We don't want to be
Mr. Green Jeans, your hot pocket is ready.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for Mr. Oh, there you go.
There we go. I stopped. So yeah. What was I saying? That
you wanted to have Robert Connell Clark.
Sorry.
Sorry. There we go. All right. Tommy, what have you been up to? You've been on the show in a while. We'll let Mr. Green Jeans work out his.
Okay. Yeah, I know I haven't been here in a while, and I'm gonna do a little bit of pimping. The panel seems to be at least semi-impressed with the formula that I came up with for getting the molecules that we're interested into your body. And I let Steve know I don't know what he's shared with everybody. I said I can't come back onto the show until I'm in production. And in production means I've been developing a CBD-centric skincare line. And I'm just going to announce an offer here. However, part of this offer, I'm going to rely on Roger and Steve and some of the other panelists who are much better at this stuff than I am. We are getting ready to launch a skincare line that is CBD only, so it can go to all of the states, no problem. And I would like people who are on the panel to be able to submit people who they would like to get a product. But what I've been up to is, I did a lot of work at making sure that the THC and the CBD molecules are bioavailable. And I've shared a couple times here the recipe that I do that anybody can do anywhere for getting the most out of your cannabis plant, getting those molecules into your body. I've been very, very heavy into research for the last few months, understanding how to get the same molecules into your body, except rather than putting it any of the holes that you got in your body, whether it's, down your throat or up your whistle, I've figured out a much more comfortable way to get them in your body through your skin. And I've been knee deep in it, and I apologize for not being here. It's just if I have 2 hours, honestly, guys, I've been spending it on research. Well, I'm ready to say things now. And what I would like to offer to people in this community, whether it's through Roger's connections, Mr. Green Jeans connections, Steve's, Marty's, and there's a number of people, we have now I'm willing to assert, and I'm going to count on you guys for feedback, but I'm willing to assert, and everybody knows what our cannabis oil does. They've tried it, Roger's tried it, and everybody like that. We now have a skincare line that will get these molecules into your body at least as efficiently as our coconut oil has been. I've really worked with different carrier oils, understanding the mechanisms of how things are transmitted transdermally. but I would like to get samples of 1 or 2 products out to everybody. And again, I'm not the guy to send these out. I'm going to count on like sending a whole bunch to Roger and letting him get him out to the people to test. But we have 2 things that we're launching with in a line of many. I'm not going to go into that because I don't have it yet. But here's what we got right now. I have a shaving butter that's a CBD based shaving butter that uses top of the line, wonderfully sourced, responsibly sourced different oils or whatever, that if you're a baldy like me, or if you're a dude that shaves your face unlike Roger or somebody like that, this stuff is the shit. And I might be lying. I want you to tell me I'm lying. And we have something that we're calling healing hands. And I'm hearing a bit of feedback, and it's not me because I'm on a headset. So if somebody could like mute their microphone or something, that'd be gravy. But this main product that we're going to enter the market with is something we're calling healing hands. And just so you know, the background on the story is I wound up putting my ex-wife through medical school. She was an OBGYN. Short terminology for that is a baby catcher. And nurses, believe it or not, have worse hands than contractors. I know this because I was a contractor, and I had my hands in xylene, I had my hands in cement, I had my hands in mortar, all the paint thinners and all this, that, and the other thing. My wife, who would go touch the baby and then wash her hands, and touch the mother and wash her hands and whatever. I used to bring skincare products to the women on the floor. And once I had one nurse on the floor, within a week, I had them all. And I'm going to state that anything I brought those women before can't hold a candle to what we're bringing them now with the CBD and stuff in it. So I'm reaching out to our community that we have here. I know I'm only a small part of it and stuff, but we have a budget allowed for some samples, and I would really, really like to give back to this podcast community because you guys have given me so much. I can't even begin to explain it. I would like to, and I'll work it, some of the details out. I would like to get samples out to anybody who would like them. If you got any skin issues, this stuff's awesome. If you've got nasty hands or nasty knees or elbows or heels or whatever, this is a product that I wish I had when we were doing millions of dollars in skincare products. It is very, very advanced. And again, it's the reason why I've been gone. So what I've been up to, I've been developing these formulas. I get kind of single focused. I have, ADD and attention deficit disorder stuff, and I can only focus on one thing at a time. And I told Steve, I'm in production. I can't be on the podcast, but I'm back today because we have these products ready for market. And I would love nothing better than the community that hangs around here to give me, and here's my rule. If you try my product, don't kiss my ass. I want brutally honest feedback. Brutally honest. If you're willing to do that, I would like us to be able to send a sample out to you. And again, I can't run that because I'm still in research and I'm still in production. But there are people much more accomplished, at that kind of stuff, like Roger, who, runs whole communities, and he knows, who needs to get this stuff. So what I'm up to is that, and I'm happy to be back. I don't know how totally often I'll be back. I'm still, in a lot of work related to that. But out of everywhere on the internet, this is one of my 2 favorite places to hang out. and just because of the caliber of the community. And I would love nothing better than to be able to share this with the kind of people that are interested in this kind of knowledge, because I know for a fact I will get serious feedback about my product, and I'm willing to step up to that. So that's what's up, guys.
Sounds great to me. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there would love to. That'd be great to have, like, run a trial, huh? Got sort of like running a trial. You want to run a trial on it a little bit.
We've tried your CBD oral. Most of us, I guess, have probably, and that's fantastic. Incredible product.
If you like that, I'm willing to assert, and I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I'm asserting that if you rub this stuff on your body, dude, you're gonna love it. And as a guy who loves being touched by his woman, and I'm a bald guy, and she loves bald guys, which is why she was even attracted to me in the first place. My woman cannot stop touching my skull. And I have to admit, that absolutely does not bother me. Oh my God, I love when my woman touches my dome. And it's been really, really awesome. If you like skin, I like skin. I love my woman's skin, and I've been rubbing the CBD oils on her, and she absolutely loves it. It's gotten rid of wrinkles for her and all sorts of stuff. And the product that she's rubbing on her body was something I made to be eaten. And so it performs a quarter of its potential rubbing on the skin, because it's made to be eaten or stuck up your whistle or whatever. And so now I've really focused on, okay, biochemically, how do we do it through the skin? How do we, deal with the sebum and the pH and some of you guys know how I am, how I get. We've finished our research. We've been putting the products together, and holy shit, Batman. It's not quite like masturbating, but I even love touching my own skull. Okay. I cannot believe it, as an ex-contractor who, just dealt with chemicals. My skin feels freaking awesome to me, and I'm just a dude, So I would love to get this out to people. We will be having a pain-related cream specifically. This is just a general skincare cream for people who have, skincare, problems or whatever. But yeah, I've got two things to get out: either shaving, if you're bald, or if I can tell a funny little story. My son's boyfriend is like really, really gay. And he hangs out with a bunch of queens who do floor shows, with the drag queen kind of stuff. Most of us guys, we just shave. We don't give a fuck as long as most of the hair is off our face. Fine. But if you are going to go do a floor show and dress up in all kinds of makeup and hang out with RuPaul on Drag Race or whatever, those guys have to shave with the grain, against the grain, sideways to the grain, the other way, sideways to the grain, because you just can't dress up to look like a woman if you got a 5 o'clock shadow. These guys who dress up for those floor show things shave beyond any of the guys that we all know. Most of us guys, we just shave. Great. It's good enough. We go. They're shaving every which way but Sunday. They are absolutely freaking out over the shaving cream, the shaving butter. It's actually shaving butter. And if you know any nurses, people who are, I just found out people who are handling money all day long, like cashiers, their hands get trashed just from handling so many bills all day and having the oils and stuff sucked out of their hands by all the bills, even as they're checking out groceries. And so I've focused on that, and I have a product that I think folks are going to like. And this is the first time it's being announced is on this podcast. Nobody else knows about it. This is the first place it's being announced. And I'm really, really happy to be sharing it here because I've learned so much in this community. I love the attitude here. And all those people that are out there listening, get a hold of Roger, get a hold of, Marty, the kind of people that run stuff. Mr. Green Jean's got a whole network. Steve's got a network. I'm not the guy to follow through, but I will make up as many sample jars as is needed to get to your friends and to the members of this community here, because it's my favorite place to hang. One of my two favorite. I can't decide which one between the New Covenant group and this are my two favorite places on the entire YouTube. But yes, I will make stuff, and if you guys can get it out, yeah, I will get it to you.
My mouse battery's going dead, taking a while. Everybody taking a nap, I see. Yeah. So what is it exactly that you want? I mean, you want us to ask people to see how many people reply that want to try it, or you just going to make a bag of samples up and send them?
Well, sure. I'm totally comfortable getting things in the lower states. Just because what I'm dealing with has absolutely no THC in it. And they're just little sample jars, just for people to try. We're starting a sample program with our company, and we have a sample budget, and before the entire sample budget is spent, I would like to offer friends of this show first bite at the apple, basically.
Yeah. I'll try to find 10 or 20 people,
Sure.
Give a little bit of idea. I would be happy to try, so if you can put me down for a couple dozen, I can, I got even my mother might appreciate that because she's got this stuff that's on her hands where it's always kind of, getting kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Medicine and wears gloves, to try to heal it,
Yeah, and it's sample size. I mean, we will be very soon having for sale the actual stuff, in usable size, but sample size is enough to recognize we ain't lying. I'll be honest, to get the real benefits in your skin that CBD is able to offer. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but cannabis has a longer history of use for skincare than it does for smoking.
Oh, not surprising.
I mean, it's just thousands
before Prohibition.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of years of history for skincare. It's a phenomenal product. To be honest, it takes 30, 45 days, and I would actually say more towards 45 days to get the real benefits of the CBD through your skin. And all I've done is I said, okay, there's that, once again, hard to absorb molecule, and I've made it more bioavailable, and I have sourced oils from around the planet that have capabilities of transdermally really delivering that molecule deep into your skin, or actually even into your body, where you can get higher usage out of it. And and I've also married my there's some technologies that we do in our company that make the molecules more bioavailable, so you're really getting full use out of it, but without sounding too cocky, blowing smoke up my own ass, I will put this skincare product up against anything on the planet. I it's embarrassing saying that out loud, but I know the science behind it. I know what we have done before with our company and some of the research I've done, and I've borrowed some of the stuff, you know, Steve's research and incorporated into it. And we really think, we really think we've got the cookie here. We're on to the way to go. But I'm totally willing to have everybody tell me I'm a liar or that I'm completely wrong. But as far as testing, it's a responsible community like this that I would like to get some products out to and get some feedback for, because there's just good folks that hang around here. You know, I mean, like, look at the guest on the show tonight. You know, I mean, you know, the dude says, "Oh, you have problems." He knows 90% of the problems are not his. He sends seeds out anyway. And he knows for a fact that 90% of the problems are not his. There's something about the attitude of the people here that I highly honor, and I would love feedback from this community. You know, if they think I'm on the right direction.
Awesome.
Well, cool. There's Steve. There you are.
Well, yeah, I had my mic problems again. Roger, what's been new with you?
Oh, not a whole lot. Same old, doing my business on the forum and commenting on our blog and hanging out with the guys. Mostly just working on the farm, trying to whip it back into shape. It's been overgrown for a few years now, and about 4 years. And I've been working real hard on that the best I can with the 100-degree heat or the pour. We're about ready to have a week's worth of rain. But that's about it. I haven't got any. I've got, you know, I don't have any big experiments going on, or other than my regular. I'm still continuing to experiment with the best way to produce the best high quality yield in small grow spaces and stuff for our members and such. That's about it. Just real busy. Just busy being. I'm kind of stuck on my land, which kind of cut down my music business, you know, industry business. But I've got a little farm here, and so that's all I've been doing, working around on the farm, working around on the forums and at I Love Growing Marijuana, and then looking forward to the show here on Thursday nights, because it's the one time I actually get to talk with people for a while, you know, and enjoy some kind of social, you know, situation, being stuck here, you know, due to my advanced macular degeneration.
Awesome. Well, sorry that you haven't had a whole lot of going on, but I'm glad to always have you on.
Well, I've got a lot going on. It's just not, I don't think people want to hear about me, how I'm building a fence, really. Or yeah.
I've been working.
I'm fencing in, right? I'm currently fencing in the property, the front half of the property that's going to have 3 different paddocks in it, so that I can grow in one area. I can have my dogs have the ability to run all the way across the property, but I also want to be able to shut them off in one of the 3 paddocks. So basically, I'm going to have 3 yards on our 2. We've got 2 acres, and so about on 1 acre of it, I'm trying to build it to where I can either have the whole thing open for everybody to go back and forth, or I can cut it into 3 different spaces. So if there's business or company that comes out to the farm, I can put the dogs in a yard over here without having to, you know, put them inside. That's basically what I'm doing now. So I can start my, you know, because I'm doing my, I'm in the process of starting my things for a winter grow in the greenhouse, or like not winter, but basically, because after Christmas, without heat, we usually lose most of the crops. But I want to grow some tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that throughout the fall. So I'm trying to get that. So I guess that's what I got going. I'm getting ready to do some veggies once I get this fence separated, so I can have my animals have a better quality of life when instead of being shut in a building whenever somebody comes around, because there's not a place to contain them so they can run. So there you go. Nothing much to do. Nothing much.
I've been working on harvesting some males to try and use for pollination a little later in the fall, and just working on a bunch of work stuff, getting our company off the ground, working on a whole bunch of licensing shit in Canada and in California, and what else have I been doing?
Yeah, you've been real busy doing that.
Yeah,
man.
super busy with paperwork out my asshole. We do have the commercial aquaponics class coming up in Ouroboros Farms with myself, Charlie Schultz, and Ken Armstrong. If you're interested in that, please come out. It'll be the first part of August. You can check out more information on all the classes I teach at ouroborosfarms.com. We also have the Medicinal Herbs class coming up at the end of the month. I think it's the last weekend of July at the farm as well. So if you're interested and you're in the Bay Area near San Francisco, definitely come out and see us.
Medicinal herbs classes are pretty neat. Usually, they're pretty cool.
It's probably the craziest class I teach, aside from the commercial, as far as information, because we have to teach so many different grow styles.
Right,
in
lots
one
of
class.
information, things that you'd never imagine you'd learn in a class like that.
Yep. So it's good too if you're a cannabis grower, because there's a lot of weird knowledge, from the different herbs and different ways you set them up to grow and stuff like that. So. Alrighty, well, I guess we'll wrap the show up. It's almost 9. We had
one thing, Steve. Put the link for Ouroboros, because it's sometimes people don't know how to spell that.
Oh, it's in the description already.
Okay, excellent.
Yep. Yeah, and all the links to anything we talked about, Rasta Jeff's stuff, Grow from the Heart podcast, his Twitter, his Instagram, his Stitcher, I think I put on there. Everything is on there, along with all of our podcasts, YouTube channels, or otherwise links. Mr. Green Jean's website's on there. Marty's links are on there. So you check all that out if you're interested.
And I finally got finally got that set up so I can give you the links for me too, and for the website for ilovegrowingmarijuana.com that we were talking about before.
Sure, yeah.
So
we'll get that on there as well.
Yeah, you've offered to do it, and I had to find my affiliate account. I just had so much clutter, and I had to change computers in the middle of the season that I lost that. But yeah, we'll be getting that up for you too, Steve. I'll get to that in the next week or so.
We'll get that in the description as well. And thanks to everyone for listening. I do apologize. There's a little bit of slow getting the last couple episodes re-uploaded. I had some technical issues, as you guys see. They're not entirely resolved yet. So just fixing up the computers and stuff to get everything back to where it was before I had this issue. So it will be a little bit weird before. And then I think my temp ban over on YouTube, thanks to the false Mr. Green Jeans throwing a little shit tantrum, is up on August 3rd. So we'll be able to stream again from Ponics YouTube channel after that, which will be nice. So it'll be interesting to see if they start playing a little more fair with the cannabis producers. It's kind of weird to hear Rasta Jeff talk about moving to YouTube when most of us are moving off of YouTube. So, and shout out to Weed TV. That stream just totally went to shit because I'm having enough issues. I will re-upload the podcast over there. If you are watching live on YouTube, it will be uploaded in full in a much cleaner version than what was coming in, because it was getting real choppy over there. So I do apologize. And yes, we'll be back next week, and I appreciate everyone watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers and thanks, and see you again.
Good night, everyone.
Peace all.